What's up, everybody? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, November 27th, 2019. I hope you're doing well. If you're here in a replay viewer, you can go to the time stamped in the comments below, and you can go right to the kind of the technical analysis portion of the video. What I'm going to do right now is give it a couple minutes to just make sure the live stream is up and running. We're all good, and then we'll go from there. So what I want to do is just get somebody, anybody, to press 1 in the chats. Let me know you can see and hear me. Because it's true. YouTube on my screen is frozen, and it says that I'm not live right now. Okay, good. We're good to go. I'm a little sick, everybody. I'm fighting a cold or something. So appreciate everybody coming through today. I'm going to try and muscle through this. I do want to say, in case I forget, happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for all of you. I hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving tomorrow and enjoy it. It's my gobble, gobble, gobble sound effect. It's my hope that you have an awesome Thanksgiving tomorrow. So Satoshi Squanderer, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. And yeah, I guess, this video, I'm going to make it very simple, which is to say, I've been really looking at Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum charts because I've been, anytime we're in a dip, I'm always looking at altcoins. I really am, besides Bitcoin. I'm like, what is Bitcoin going to do compared to other altcoins? Should I really start buying more altcoins than Bitcoin right now? So two of those are Litecoin and Ethereum right now, amongst others. And I want to just really look at some charts. I wanted to look at how I'm comparing the three, right? And I do actually, in this technical analysis, I do want to talk about, Bitcoin in general before we talk about Litecoin and Ethereum and how those stack up. So we'll hop into the charts. We'll start talking about these things. Before I do want to go over this tweet. This was a tweet from, when was this? 2 days ago or yesterday? I don't remember. This was 2 days ago. I said, when Bitcoin is 12,000 and overbought, everyone will be calling $20,000 Bitcoin, right? We're parabolic. Bitcoin's, do you remember over summer we were at 12,000? Everybody was calling 20,000. We were overbought. It needed retracements, which eventually we got, obviously. Same as how right now Bitcoin is 7,000 and oversold. Everyone is screaming 3,000. It's the same exact thing. It's just like the inverse type of situation. And it's the same thing over and over. And that's basically what I was saying in my tweets. If you agree with that, first of all, if you see that pattern, hit the like button on this video. If you're here right now, hit the like button as we get this thing started. But it's kind of what I want to talk about when we're talking about Bitcoin on the charts. Before we talk about Litecoin, before we talk about Ethereum. So Bitcoin on the charts, what I really want to point out first off is this. We bounce. I don't know if you remember, I think it was my last technical analysis that I did on, what was it? I did the technical analysis 2 or 3 days ago. I talked about this area right here on the RSI. I just underlined it in green. The 40 line. Were we going to bounce off the 40 line? As you remember, we talked about this for pretty much most of the length of this YouTube channel, almost 2 years. The 40 line on the weekly chart, an illustration of bear market versus bull market. In the bear markets of Bitcoin, you typically just see Bitcoin struggling below the 40 line on this RSI. There's the last bear markets back in 2014 to 16 or whatever. And then this time around, here's our most previous bear market. Didn't struggle as long under that 40 line on the weekly, but a really good illustration that differentiates, that separates bull market, bear market. We want to see support above it. If you want to enter a bull market, you want to see support above it. Last video, we talked about how Bitcoin came out of that last bear market and retraced back to the 40 to test, right? And then we bounced off of it and started kind of our journey up into the bull markets of 2016, 2017. That's how it went down, everybody. So this time around, we said, all right, number one, we need support at the 40 line on this RSI, on the weekly charts. Number one, we want to see that happen. And number two, we want to see it happen because we exited the bear market, right? And we wanted a retracement to retest this 40 line. Finally, we got it. It took longer than it did last time. Now the question that I'm watching on the weekly is, will it continue? And and what I'm saying is, will that support continue above the 40 line, right? And we can kind of start digging into clues now in the daily chart for Bitcoin, and also start digging into the 4 hour a little bit on the very short term to get an idea of this. And then after I do this, I'll hop into Ethereum. I'll hop into Litecoin real quick to just show you how I'm comparing the two. So what's recently happened, in case you've missed any of my recent technical analysis videos, we actually finally hit our target. That was close. Well, it's $6,400-$6,500 target, right, for Bitcoin. We pretty much hit it the other day. And that target was from a symmetrical triangle that extended back to June. We were tracking it for a while. As you remember, we were tracking a potential broken symmetrical triangle, busted symmetrical triangle. We didn't hit our target. We came back in. We tested the lower trend line. We were looking for a beautiful bullish break above that. That would be would have been bullish. Didn't happen. We got the rejection at the lower trend line, which is conservatively what we always look for. Revisiting the trend line that we broke out of, boom, revisiting it, boom, and then getting further rejection to go down and hit the target. It played out like perfectly. Targets and patterns don't always play out perfectly, but they often do. And when they do, it's just awesome to look back and just say, wow, that's why we do this. That's why this stuff is reliable if you're just trying to analyze data and trying to figure out how you want to do these things. And it gives caution, right? Like right here, resistance at this lower trend line. That was just a perfect area of caution, meaning it looks like we might get that picture perfect bounce back down to the target, which was all the way down here. So we got that. We hit our target there. Now what we're looking at is this. You see this, and maybe I'll make this a different color so it's kind of more clear. A falling wedge that we've been tracking, also extending back to that June swing high. We have a falling wedge, high or lower highs, lower lows. We just hit our lower low, which was part of that symmetrical triangle breakout target, right? We just hit that lower low at the bottom of this falling wedge. This could be an awesome setup for Bitcoin entering the bull market. We talked about in the last video, this could go into January, February, March, spring of 2020, and we're still struggling down $5,000 or something. Bitcoin's just struggling to enter the bullish mode that everybody wants. But that would be, just a perfect example of why patience is needed and also why caution is needed. I'm not sitting here saying I think we're going to be in 2020, March or February or something, trading at $5,700 down here. But look, we're in a clear falling wedge, right? That has the potential to go into, an eventual apex all the way down here, right? And if that happens and we don't get a breakout before then we could be trading. It's just a reality, right? Like there's always potential for up or down. There's no guarantees Bitcoin's going to follow exactly what it did last time. Here's the Bitcoin halving in May. Historically, we're really at the time frame now where Bitcoin should start moving up going into the halving. Historically, that's what we're looking for. History doesn't always repeat itself, but it's something that we've talked about a lot on this channel. So where are we now? We're at the bottom trend line of this falling wedge and currently making a move on the daily chart, right? You see it. We got that swing low. A lot of people, I think, are talking about this. I mean, I don't even think you can even chart or find a better inverse head and shoulders for this reversal. Basically a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder, and we got a breakout above the neckline. Breakout target, I think, is around 8,000 or 8,100 in terms of where this might lead us to. This is on the 4-hour chart, by the way. So the question is are we going to get that target hit? Always look for a revisit, just how we just talked about in the symmetrical triangle. Bitcoin broke out of a trend line, revisited that trend line, and then continued, right, to its target. Same thing. On an inverse head and shoulders, we got a breakout above this. Let me zoom in a little. Got a breakout above this neckline right here. Maybe we go up a little more. I don't know. Maybe we consolidate now and then into the next day or so. But look for a potential revisit back down to $7,300 or so to that neckline. If we see some sideways trading, if we see some potential support, maybe then that would be a clear indicator that Bitcoin has some potential, some legs, some energy to hit that target for the inverse head and shoulders. Time will tell in regards to that happening, but that's kind of what we're looking at on the 4-hour chart. Now, I do want to say just real quick on the daily chart, if Bitcoin really gets some steam and acts in a volatile way, as it often does after swing highs and swing lows, our target really is this Fibonacci retracement. It's like 9,500 down to $8,800. It's something to look out for in the next week or two in terms of a target of resistance. If you really want Bitcoin to break into that bullish environment, the road to the bull markets, we have to break this channel, right? So there's definitely a journey that is in front of Bitcoin in order to enter that bull market that everybody wants. And this channel is basically Fibonacci retracement, swing high that we had to a swing low. And we have our Fibonacci retracements, the 786 to 618. We want to look for resistance there. Hopefully Bitcoin can break that resistance. But you know the story. If there is clear resistance there, Bitcoin makes its way up. That's just a lower high in this long-term falling wedge. So there's potential Bitcoin makes its way back down, going into 2020, and we're at the lower trend line again. So you have to take these things into account and do it with patience. So that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin to the upside, potential resistance there. And, we do that with the mindset of this is what Bitcoin does often. Here's a swing high we had in September to this eventual swing low, and Bitcoin, saw almost perfect resistance right here, right? Everybody remembers this move right here, like 30+% gains so quick, but it hit Fibonacci resistance. Again, back then, and this happened in October, we were hoping Bitcoin would break out of this wedge, and it didn't. And we continue to a lower low. Same exact thing now. We're in a similar position. Will we get similar resistance if we make it up here and bounce back into a lower low? Anticipate these things, everybody. It's probably the best possible thing you can do instead of, FOMOing in when Bitcoin starts making a move. Right now, in the last couple of days, it's been nice. Bitcoin getting a little bit of a bounce from that swing low. I mean, currently up literally like 15% from that swing low, but you have to be careful. Going to the 4-hour, what we would see, I think, if we did hit all these targets to the upside, mainly this Fibonacci retracement, is we would just see a series of higher highs and higher lows. I mean, something like this, really. That's what we'd be looking for. And that's just what Bitcoin does in an environment where it's seeing just gains, right? And you can go back to the bear market when we exited the bear market. Here's that happening on the 4-hour chart. All it is just a series of higher highs and higher lows, right? We would be looking for patterns that look like that, but right here. So that's what we're looking at Bitcoin. Now, what I do want to talk about is Litecoin and Ethereum, and you can kind of just, I guess, take into account other cryptocurrencies. But I am curious. In the chats, let me know, I guess right now, just think of one altcoin that you bought recently or one altcoin that you are accumulating besides Bitcoin. I'd be really curious. Less is more 87. Thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Really appreciate it. Less is more 87. I remember you from the last live stream. God bless you, man. So Burst Coin. So there's a lot of altcoins popping up. EOS, Litecoin's on there. Link, Litecoin. And I want to say this, I guess, in regards to Litecoin. Like, I know the timing of it all wasn't the best when I kind of was, basically said I wasn't working with Litecoin Foundation anymore. There's no correlation between, I've been tweeting about Litecoin less. I've been doing less videos. The reason I've been doing less content on Litecoin is simply because I have a higher interest in Bitcoin right now. and it's kind of been like that the whole year leading into Bitcoin's halving. I mentioned that was going to happen for me. And, that's kind of the reasoning for it, right? I have a higher interest in Bitcoin right now. So, all right, I see some of these Zcash, ETH, XRP. Ben, thank you for the super chat, $4.99. How high do you see Ethereum, Bitcoin going next alt season? I have a ETH BTC pair pulled up. I'll go over that in a second or in a couple minutes. But thanks, Ben, for the super chat. So let's look at it. Ready? Check this out. First things first, Litecoin. Here's Litecoin on the daily charts. I'm sorry, this is Litecoin on the weekly charts. What I want to point out on the weekly chart is a couple things, and I want to compare it to Bitcoin a little bit. Number one, if we go look at Bitcoin on the weekly, I want to note that on the stock RSI, that's this quicker moving momentum oscillator at the bottom of my screen right here, kind of next to my face. You can see Bitcoin is in that oversold area, right? It's down here. Bitcoin is in an oversold area. If we go over to Litecoin, you can see Litecoin's a little higher, right? So on the short term, and it's hard to call a weekly chart a short term, but from a stock RSI perspective, it's quicker moving momentum oscillator. I look at that and I'm just, with that one indicator alone, I'm kind of just like, I'd rather buy Bitcoin. It's more oversold on the stock RSI. And we just got that confirmation on, and this is Litecoin chart, by the way. So here's Litecoin stock RSI, and here's Bitcoin stock RSI, oversold area. And we just got this bounce off the 40 line. So Bitcoin to me just looks a little bit more safer, a little bit more conservative. And that's one reason. And if you go to Ethereum on the stock RSI as well, right down here at the bottom of my screen, you can see also not as oversold as Bitcoin. So here's Ethereum on the stock RSI again, and then here's Bitcoin on the stock RSI. So I like when things are oversold, right? So when I'm comparing Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum in terms of just that one indicator alone, I'm kind of feeling Bitcoin a little bit more naturally. That's just how I am. That's how I've been accumulating Bitcoin. If I have Bitcoin and Bitcoin's like up here on the stock RSI and Litecoin's like down here, I'm going to be like, I like Litecoin better. Now, historically, I know that sounds way too simple, and I think sometimes I get comments and they're just like, you can't just do that, but you really can. I mean, go open charts and historically look at momentum oscillators, the RSI, the stock RSI, when things are oversold, right? Historically, what happens? And when you have one more oversold than another, historically, what happens? Go look at that, because it's pretty crazy, the data and what happens. It's a good play. It really is. If you need to use one indicator alone, it's a solid play in my opinion. The other thing is this: Bitcoin, just here's the halving, right? And this is something I mentioned for a long time now. Bitcoin halving is right here, this white line, May 2020. And we're leading up to it. And what happened? Everybody knows. I know history doesn't repeat itself. But what happened the last time leading into the last Bitcoin halving? Here's Bitcoin leading into that halving, 2016, right? So we have that stock RSI. We had an indicator on the momentum oscillator we just looked at. And then we can look at Bitcoin on the Litecoin chart. Not Bitcoin, but we can see what happens in that last halving, right? The Bitcoin halving right around here. Litecoin didn't perform as good as Bitcoin. Litecoin performs before its halving, right? We rode that train, right? And so from an accumulation standpoint, right now, leading into the next Bitcoin halving, I would rather accumulate Bitcoin. I think it's very simple. We can also go, and I want to look at this. Jim Flanagan, $10 super chat. Thanks, dude. 50% Litecoin, 50% Bitcoin. Been acquiring more BTC lately. So Jim is 50-50 on Litecoin and Bitcoin, and acquiring more Bitcoin lately, which I think that's a nice move. Altcoins are going to have their time to shine. Alt season. I can't even believe people were talking about an alt season like when we were in summer, when everything was kind of seeing gains. We're nowhere near alt season. In my opinion, we're nowhere near that. And I think we all should just be a little bit more patient. 2017 all-time highs were not that long ago. 2 years ago is not that long ago, everybody, in the cycles of Bitcoin and the cycles of what these cryptocurrencies are doing. Hit that like button if you agree with me, because sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that thinks that way. So Jim Flanagan, thanks for that. So looking at LTC BTC pair, here's the other thing that happened. This is probably the most concerning thing for me in terms of Bitcoin and Litecoin. And that's simple. Leading into that last halving, Litecoin, this is Litecoin chart, leading in that last halving, this white line, that's the Bitcoin halving. Obviously, Litecoin saw gains going to the Litecoin halving right here. And then what happened after that? It just, boom, going into the Bitcoin halving, and then following the Bitcoin halving like a year after, just down on the LTC BTC pair. So that's just another reason why I'm just like, I'd rather accumulate Bitcoin right now. And it's all based on technical analysis. There's no other reason that I'm saying that. It's all based on what you see on these charts. And yes, I get it. History might not repeat itself. However, it's one of the best things we have going for us in this very limited space of historical data, right? These charts don't go back that far. And another thing on the LTC BTC chart is this. If you kind of look at, well, where are we compared to what happened back here? I mean, it's almost identical. Litecoin went up into the halving, and here's the halving, by the way. I don't know if you can see this very thin line on my screen. You can. Went up into that halving, right? This is the daily chart. And here's this past halving for Litecoin on the daily chart. Litecoin saw some awesome gains up to like this same exact area of resistance. And then right around halving, all the way back down. And then what happened here? Right around halving, all the way back down. And now we're at this area after the Litecoin halving where Litecoin is like, all right, well, we saw some gains going into the halving, and we retraced. And then if I zoom in on this chart a little bit, back then, after retracing, what did Litecoin do? It just saw resistance under the 50 moving average on this LTC BTC pair, right? At the 50 moving average on the daily chart. And it kind of reminds me a lot where we are right now. Just this resistance down here, the 50 moving average, this blue line on the LTC BTC pair. And the worst was yet to come for LTC on the LTC BTC pair. The worst was yet to come. And you can see what happened. We had a little bit of a run on that pair, right here. But then boom, Litecoin was down another, I just take it from this 50 moving average right here, like 60 some percent. And that was all very confluent with the Bitcoin halving right here. This white line, that's the Bitcoin halving. And you can see Litecoin performed terrible against Bitcoin before the Bitcoin halving and then after the Bitcoin halving. And we're literally right there right now. So on this chart, here's the Bitcoin halving. This is where we are, right? So what's going to happen going into the Bitcoin halving and then after the Bitcoin halving? I'm not saying it's definite that's going to happen again. Litecoin's not going to perform well on this pair. However, it's some of the strongest data that we have. We have to be ready for it. So that's pretty much what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about on Litecoin. If you look at Ethereum and Bitcoin, kind of the same thing, right? If you're just comparing, if you're taking Bitcoin data and the halving data, after the Bitcoin halving, Ethereum did not do very well. I will say closer to Bitcoin halving, Ethereum, didn't do bad compared to what Litecoin's been doing recently on the LTC BTC pair. So those are some of my reasonings, right? You can look at the charts, and I could find other technical indicators that would probably say I think Bitcoin's a better buy than Ethereum and Litecoin right now, but those are a couple, right? Some momentum oscillators as well as the Bitcoin halving coming up. I think they're incredibly important to just take note of, to be ready for. But at the end of the day, this is what we're looking at on Bitcoin. Now, I will say this. This doesn't really have anything to do with Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum. This is really just Bitcoin charts. I meant to bring this up, and so I just want to point it out real quick. There is, and I'm trying to clean up this chart because it's so bad. Thanks for your patience, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's having a good day. I will tell you right now, crypto Twitter has been going crazy, especially in this dip. It's just nonstop negativity over there on Twitter, and it drives me insane to see all the bears and the negative people start commenting every time Bitcoin is down, and then when Bitcoin goes back up, it's just they're nowhere to be seen. It's unbelievable. Matt says, what's your opinion on ETH long term? Aside from just TA, in my opinion, it probably has the best network for mass adoption when it's scalable. There is so much potential. And this is, I'll say this, like, I want to start accumulating Ethereum. I do. That's why I'm always looking at these charts. I'm like, well, is now the time? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. And that's why I'm sharing this video with you. But yes, Ethereum is one of my cryptocurrencies. And I'm just like, I think there's so much potential for its growth in terms of especially price. Listen, I love this technology, right? I work with startups. I work with crypto startups. I help them build their teams. Like, I love the technology, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm here doing videos and talking about this stuff because like I invested into this technology for monetary gain, right? Like, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm not emotionally attached to any of these cryptocurrencies. And Ethereum is on there on the list for me in terms of potentially where it could get to. And if you look at Ethereum on the Ethereum USD pair, I mean, there's so much potential. I don't know exactly when we're going to enter the bull market for cryptocurrencies. We're not in the bull market yet. I know we exited the bear market strong, but we're not in the bull market yet. Bitcoin needs to trade above $16,000 consistently for at least a few months before I can even confirm, in my opinion, the way I do technical analysis, that we're in a bull market. Ethereum, and assuming all goes well and we're all geniuses and we're all utilizing wisdom here and waiting, right? Because there's always a chance of failure. Don't spend more money than you can afford to lose. But assuming we're right, you can just look at the charts for Ethereum, right? Ethereum's all-time highs were, 800% from where we are right now. And if Bitcoin enters a bull market, if Bitcoin hits that next target of $80,000 or $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 for next all-time high, you can imagine Ethereum will be breaking its previous all-time high, and that's 800% away, right? Like, the gains are staggering that are potentially in play. And, my approach is like kind of going about it conservatively and getting ready for potential gains like that. But trust me, like, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm saying there's a staggering amount of gains to be made potentially if all goes well. Will we all be right in terms of Bitcoin? Our speculative guesses. And when I say that, I'm thinking of this long-term Bitcoin chart that I charted in December 2018 with an all-time high of around 90,000, 100,000 in 2021. Will that happen? I don't know. Since I charted it in December, like, things are looking pretty good. I charted it back here and we're on trajectory, right? Like, it doesn't look terrible right now, but I don't know what's going to happen. And that's also why I'm not invested more than I can afford to lose. And I'm just kind of having some fun with it, tracking it, trying to be patient because this is a lot of time ahead of us. Unbelievable that people were just right here talking about it's alt season, Bitcoin's going to 50 grand. Like, look how much patience is involved here. And this is speculative chart, but I think gives a good idea of what could potentially happen in terms of Bitcoin, in terms of us getting to these areas. But back to my point, Ethereum is one of those that looks awesome going into a potential bull market. Litecoin is also one, but again, it's going to take some time. So, and I like, there's other altcoins, Cardano, Digibyte. There's going to be some crazy gains for those, I think, in the times ahead. But right now, Bitcoin just looking nice going into halving, and that's kind of what I wanted to do this video on. But again, to my point, what I wanted to point out, and I'm sure a lot of people won't like this. What's up, Zog? I see you. I think that's Zog. I'm pretty sure. What's up, dude? What I wanted to talk about, and some people won't like this, is so we got our breakout target from this symmetrical triangle, right there. We hit our breakout target pretty much. Boom. We're talking about this falling wedge with these white lines, lower lows, lower highs. We're talking about this as being like this bullish setup to enter the bull market. But I do want to just, and this is from where we are right now, I want to point this out to you. Like, Bitcoin could fall below the trend line of this falling wedge. Granted, falling wedges typically a little better chance of going up, breaking upwards, right? Especially I think at this stage of cycle, I think many are anticipating that. However, you have to anticipate a break down through this trend line. So from where we are right now, a breakdown out of this pattern would bring us to like $4,500. I can only imagine how many people will be buying and accumulating if Bitcoin did that. That's why I don't think it's going to happen. But it totally could, right? And it would almost make sense from the most bullish standpoint. And we've talked about this for a long time on this channel. And that is this. From the most bullish standpoint, if you zoom out on the charts, right, what we had is we've been tracking the similarities of Bitcoin in that last cycle. And I've talked about how there was kind of a potential setup for a symmetrical triangle back then, right? And that's what this looks like right here. This, even though I charted it, is not a symmetrical triangle. There was no confirmation. What we would have needed was another touch, maybe back down the bottom trend line. I think one could argue that, Dan, you have a first touch, you have a second touch, you have a third, and then a fourth. But I think one more touch would have been probably a little better, especially going into this apex. But either way, this entire move for Bitcoin back then obviously was extremely bullish, and it was a bullish setup for Bitcoin. But imagine if we got like the most perfect symmetrical triangle this time around, right? And we actually did put in another higher low that looks more symmetrical, right? I guess you could say. And that would be if Bitcoin actually did break out below this falling wedge and hit a target of, $4,800, $4,700. That would be a higher low towards the apex of this huge symmetrical triangle for maybe potential continuation into the bull market. I'm always like hypothetically looking at setups like this. They interest me. They're intriguing to me. And, I kind of want to be ready for it. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of Bitcoin. So let me know, as I always do, press 1 if you're bullish, press 2 if you're bearish. I always like to see everybody what you're thinking out there. If you're here right now, hit the subscribe button. If you're here right now, hit the like button. I love those likes coming in when I'm doing these videos. And hopefully at the end of the day, we get some gains with Bitcoin. I really do hope we do. So we got most people bullish. Look at this. Legend Zog is the bearish. Ryan Jack is 2.5. We've got a lot of bullish people in this chat right now. It's crazy. I'm not used to it. Usually it's like very 50-50. And right now we got some bulls. I like it. And, obviously Bitcoin seeing some nice short-term gains. We'll see if it continues. That inverse head and shoulders is insane. That setup is insane. Hopefully we get what we all want, which is just that blast off into the bull markets. Now we have some twos coming in. We've seen two huge bounces off the $6,500 this week. Litecoin, Bitcoin, Stellar, BAT, and EOS. Well, appreciate it. I'm surprised I lasted this long. I'm not feeling good, everybody. I'm really not. I'm fighting off something. But I really wanted to do a technical analysis, stay distracted a little bit. And like I said, we'll see what happens. I really wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a blessed day tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy it. Probably won't be doing a live stream. But I really appreciate you all coming by. Again, hit that like button on the way out. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber. We'll see what happens with these cryptocurrencies. In the meantime, relax, enjoy it. Enjoy the gains. I think they'll be here soon enough. I will see you in the next video, and God bless.